And we will share. Okay, so let me go through your question first, since while it's still fresh on our minds. Okay, so let me get my thing back to normal view here also. One sec. Okay, we're good to go. All right, so the question was, when you have a picture and you want it to fit, and how do you kind of fit the frame? So I'm going to double click. Let me see if I got one that's a little bit bigger picture wise. Okay, so this is a good example. I'm going to zoom out so you can see. When we first click on we'll call it a box or a frame that we're going to put our photos or images, illustrations, whatever into, you get a blue edge. Okay, so if I just kind of draw one up here, you'll see just kind of blue edge, and you can then make it give it a stroke if you want, define how that stroke would look, etc. So you can go through all these kind of options with that, along with the color and so forth up here, right? So you can, you know, make those kind of adjustments as you go on that. But there, right now, there's no picture in there, so you just kind of have the blue frame. Okay, down here on this picture of the kid walking, I've imported this photo, and you can see that this kind of yellow, call it golden line, is actually showing you how big that photo is. Okay, so I made a box that's, you know, 1 inch by 1 inch or 3 by 3, whatever it happens to be. But my picture is way, way, way bigger in this case to the frame. Okay, so now this is up to you as to how you want that picture to fit into the frame. So when I click on this again, I can decide on, do I want to fill the frame proportionally, meaning it's going to fill it up into this 3 by 3 area basically, and it'll stretch it a little bit, but it'll fit. So boom, I did it there, and you can see proportionally it only made it top and bottom. You can see the right and left. Let me zoom in a little bit. We still have that picture extending out. So that means the picture is still bigger than that box because it's a horizontal picture, and my frame is technically a square in this case. So it's the fill frame proportionally does that. I'm going to undo that again so we can go through these all. Now this one will fill the contents proportionally. I mean, it's going to stretch everything to fit within the frame. I'm going to click that again, and you can see it fit it in, but it gave us that empty space above and below. In this case, I have a color on that frame, which is the magenta. Okay, so it's basically fitting it in. So therefore, we can now adjust that frame if we want to do that. Go back to this other option. This will fit content to the frame, meaning this is going to stretch it in whatever way it needs to do to fit exactly into the box I've drawn. And you can see it is stretched it and kind of warped it here. You can literally see her, how she's being warped out in there, right? So she's very, very long and thin at this point because we fit the contents to the frame. Now over here, I'm going to fit the frame to the contents, meaning the picture frame, even though I drew it 3 by 3 or so, it's going to get as big as it needs to fit the picture. So boom, you can see that, and now it just made the frame fit the picture. Okay, so it really made it huge. Now again, that's probably in this case not something you would want to do. This one will center it, and it's basically centering the whole picture within that frame. And again, that's not something we want to do. And then this one over here is a content aware, meaning it's going to kind of adjust it to fit the way the computer thinks it should fit. Now, I don't use the content aware a lot because it kind of pushes things around the way I don't want. But what it did, and again, this is a relatively new option for the frame fitting, the computer realized there's a person in there and you probably want to get that person into that photo. So it got it in there and it did some adjustments and you can still see the yellow frame, which means it's still, the picture's still bigger than the picture box that I initially drew.
Window. It's a freaking restroom.
What's that?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, it's no problem. So the frame fitting is really all kind of based upon what you have in mind. Now, oftentimes within design, we have a predetermined size that we want our pictures to be, just because we're doing this layout and we don't want them to be any bigger than X size. Okay, so in that case, you're going to probably make that adjustment with the picture. Now I can double click on the picture, let me zoom out so you can see it, and I can also just manually, I'm holding the shift down and I can just proportionally move it down. Okay, so I
Yeah,
can literally move the picture within the frame however I want. Does that make
sorry.
sense? So
That's exactly what was happening to me. It would blow the picture up so big, and I'm like, oh man, how do I
yeah,
get this get smaller? I didn't.
so
I
you
didn't.
can manually do it, or you can say, okay, I want it to fit the frame proportionally, okay, or fill the contents to the frame. Again, depends on what you got, or in this case, fill frame proportionally, which is giving it pretty much, it's scaling it down to fit it in. Does that make sense? But let's say it did that and you're like, okay, that's kind of cool, I'm close, but I want, in this case, the picture of the child to be a little larger. I can then just kind of come in and manually open it up. I can make the picture larger within that frame to fit the way I want. Okay, so when you first click on a box, it turns blue. Okay, so we got a kind of a blue outline. If I double click on the box, it goes to the picture itself. Okay, so double clicking allows me to move the picture around within the frame. If I just click once on the picture, it allows me to move the frame. So I am actually moving, I can shrink the frame down or not. And I have this auto fit on, so you can see the computer's trying to rearrange this as I go to fit the way I want it to be, or the way it was initially when I turned it on. Okay, so a lot of times the autofill is on when I'm in the basic parts of designing, so I can kind of get things to fit um, and to make adjustments as I go. Because again, as we are doing this, and we may have sketched it out and have an idea of where we want these pictures to be on the page, as we start to lay out, things will change. Okay, because that's part of the process of design, is kind of working it through. Did that answer the question?
Yes, definitely. I was having all that helped me out a lot. That was
Cool.
really cool. I was having such a big trouble.
Yeah, it's again, it's something very, very unique to InDesign. And once you kind of understand it, it's cool. But I can tell you all the time, I'm clicking and I'm like, oh, or I double click by accident, and I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to move it. So I'm just doing Command Z. So I'm stepping back to where I was, and oh, I messed up. Let me click again. I want to move the picture itself, the whole thing, with the frame, not just the picture within the frame. So like I'll do that, and I'll go, oh crap, I didn't mean to move the picture. I meant to move the whole frame. So then you have to just come back and click it till you get the blue handles instead of the yellow or golden handles. And then you can move the whole thing around however you see fit within the project itself. Okay, so just know if it didn't do it, you probably, just do a Command Z that undoes what you just did. And then you can go, okay, what did I do wrong? And figure that out. And likewise with the fitting, if it changes the fitting based upon what's currently there. So if you wanted to go, I want to make it bigger or smaller, I would just say go back to where you were and then click the fitting that you want. Okay, because it will change every time. So if I click that, it's making a change to it. Okay, And it's like, I don't want that. So you can just kind of Command Z and it takes you back to where you last were with that state. Okay. Because it just, it happens all the time. And then under here with the options, basically it's saying always align to the center. And it's giving you an idea of what this is going to do with the auto fit. You can turn that off if you want, and you can do specifics, crops and stuff if you know. But most times we have no idea what they are, so it's just easier not to do that. Now you can do the content fill, which will fit the content to the frame. Okay, so that's for the auto fit, or also fit content or fill frame proportionally. So if we hit the fill content to frame, as I move this frame around, you can see it's squishing now. It's because it's kind of trying to keep the whole picture within that frame that I created. Okay, and that may or may not be something you want to do. So oftentimes on this case, I will always fill frame proportionally, or fill content proportionally, or fill frame proportionally. I usually do the frame because that's what I'm making the adjustments on. Okay, I'm oftentimes doing this, making the frame bigger or smaller than I am filling it, making the picture bigger or smaller. Does that make sense? Okay, so let me just do this, get that back to there, and click OK. We should be all right with that. All right, good question, good question. Like I said, I know you're not the only one that's having problems with that. Well, not problems, it's just an issue. All right, other questions?
I have a question. You said that you were going to do a magazine cover.
I'm sorry, say that again. I didn't hear you.
You said that we were going to do a magazine cover, right?
Okay, is there a way? And it was chopping up on me.
You said we were going to do a magazine cover.
By using, what was the last word?
You said we were going to make a magazine cover.
A magazine cover.
Oh yeah, we'll go through that. Basically, in that case, we're going to work with a picture, and then we're going to bring that picture in and lay out text and so forth on top. So we'll be doing that over the next 2 weeks or so. Today, I'm just trying to the last bit of getting this kind of up to date on InDesign, and I'm going to give you the very basics of what we're going to do for the final, so you can kind of start researching and getting images and elements together. And then on Tuesday next week, I'm gonna start going through a little step by step with you guys, so you can see how I would create something like that. And then you'll be off to the races, starting to build it yourself. And that'll take us through till the end of the semester. So don't worry, I'm not gonna throw you guys off the bridge and ask you to swim. I'm gonna take you through. All right.
Cool.
Okay, so the last major thing we have to kind of do, we've gone through paragraph styles and character styles. We did that a little bit last. Yeah, the grades are coming. Penny, I'm sorry. I'm almost done. And I let me just say, they'll be there by Monday. Sorry, by Tuesday. My wife's laughing at me. Tuesday, they'll be there by Tuesday. All right, I know. But guess just everybody is doing awesome. Okay, guys, don't sweat it. I'm one that's like, hey, don't worry about the grades. It's all about learning, and you guys are doing it, and you're doing it. All right, so don't sweat.
And we're doing it well. We're doing it.
You're doing it well, exactly. If there were problems, we would know. You would know. Is there anybody that has anybody? Well, let's say grades aside, who cares? Because everybody's going to do fine on the grades. Anybody have any issues with Photoshop or Illustrator at this point? You guys feel comfortable with it? Everybody feel pretty good with it? Anybody like, I'm still iffy on it? See, you guys, I'm assuming because no one said anything, y'all are good. And that means
I would hope so.
You guys are doing well. That's really what it's about. So we've done character styles, paragraph styles. We've gone through inserting images, putting some text in, dropping that in, some of the formatting with that. And again, we'll continue to do this as we go. So today I want to go through a master page and what that is. Okay. So what is a master page? If I go over to my pages tab here, we can see the pages that we've been working on, the 12. And then we have our master pages up here. And at this point, there's nothing on them. So what is a master page and when would you want to use it? So let's go over to one over here. So a master page is something you want to put on every page or a series of pages. And you want the things to always align up. So in this case, this document, on the master page is this bar at the top and the bottom, this red and orange or red and yellow bar. So if I go to my master page, you can see it has these on it. And you can see, I can click it and I can make adjustments. I could change the color, I could scale them, I could do whatever I need to do to them. And again, it's something I want to add to multiple pages. So in this case, page 2, 3, and 4 have it. And how do I know? Because there's a little A in here. It says Master A applied. When I go up to the top page, page 1, it says none applied, meaning there is no master page that's been applied to it. Okay, so if I come up here, we do not have that bar at the top and the bottom. If I wanted to add the bar to the top and bottom, I can literally drag this master over and click it, and now it added it to the top and bottom. Now it's not showing on the bottom because there's a picture that's on top of it, because what the master does is it kind of puts things in the back. Okay. If I don't want a master, I just click on none and I can drag that over and it will turn it, in this case, the master off. Okay. So the master is here on this page. Zoom out a little bit. We've got the top and bottom. If I don't want a master on page 2, in this case, master A, I can just drag over the none and it takes it off. Okay. So again, it's putting elements on a page that are going to be consistent. Now, what other kind of things do we put on a page consistent? So we have here this kind of decorative bar. Many times we might have, you'll find the tops of books like the title or magazine. You'll find at the top of the magazine kind of the title. We're going to put chef, and we're going to title this. This is going to be the name of this little publication that I'm creating. And I'm going to put this up here, and I'm going to just move my properties over on it. I want to justify it to the left, right here. And I'm going to put this up here. And I'm going to make it a little smaller so it kind of fits in there. So I want only on the right side of the pages, on the right side of the page to have the word chef. Okay. So now when I go back to my pages, you'll see it added the word chef now to them. It didn't do it on the first page because there's no master that's been applied to this page, but it did it on page 2, 3, and 4. Now I can also make up a new master. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click on create a new page. I'm sorry, create a new master here on the drop down. I'm going to duplicate the master, or I can make a new master. Okay, so I'm going to just make I'm going to duplicate master A, and it may be, okay, so it's the same, and I call it B, and you can rename these anything you want. Okay, it doesn't need to be A or B or C. You can come up with your own way. But what I'm going to do on master B is I'm going to change the colors. So in this case, instead of the red, I'm going to give it a new color. Oh, I'm on the stroke, sorry. I'm going to give it the gray color, okay? And at the bottom, again, just for visual, I want to make that one the red, okay? So right now I have a second master, a master A and a master B. And then there's the none master, which has nothing on it. So I want to make page 3 to include master B. So I can literally take the master page, copy it, or drag it over, I should say, to page 3 and drop it. And now it made it a B master, and you can see that here on the page preview. And as you look through, you see the color shift from the red at the top to the gray at the top, from the yellow at the bottom to now the red at the bottom. Okay, and whenever I make a new page, whoops, I'm going to get off the master page. I'm going to come down here. I have it, and it by default will typically go to the A master. Okay, but again, I can just change that out to be a B master by dragging the B over top of it. Does that make sense? So if you want a master and you've created them, it's going to create these elements that are going to be on multiple pages. I'm going to go back up to the A master. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Now, we can also do things like insert page numbering. Okay, so type, it should be under here, unless they moved it. Okay, so let me give me 1 second here if they did something different. Should do it. Why is it not doing it? One sec here. So what it does have a way to again add in page numbering, and I'm just wondering why that shortcut's not working there. Type. Let me go back over here to this page and see if it's going to allow me to do it here. See, it's all grayed out. Why is that? Okay, I think I know what it is. Give me a second. Go back. Let me build a text box. And then we're going to put this, hopefully it'll work. Aha, perfect. So on my master page, I drew a text box on the, in this case, the lower right corner. And what I wanted to do is say current page number. Next, previous, I guess somebody would want that, but current page is what we do most times, and we do that. Now, it's not going to be, it's going to give it a number, but it gives you a representation as to what that's going to be. So I'm going to change that typeface, that font, because I don't want it to be there. I'm going to go to Helvetica, and let me give it a something non-condensed so it will read fine. There's a bold. And I also want to paragraph it, right? So right now it's centered in my text box. I want it to be on the right. And I can also adjust it up and down. So I'm just going to kind of center it into my yellow square and move it over a little bit. So now let me go back to my pages, and it should have put them in. See, page 2. Page 3 doesn't have it because of that master it didn't apply to, and page 4 it did. Okay, so this is where we kind of build our master up. So in order to make, let's say I just did that color shift, I would do all of this on page A, then I would duplicate it so my page number stayed in the same place. Otherwise, I'm trying to manually adjust it and fit it into place. So it's kind of, you want to do it like a building block kind of system. And if I keep adding pages, okay, you're going to see on all of these pages now, it gives you the page number. Okay. And if I say, oh, I don't want this typeface or this font, I can come back to my master, click on my A, go back to my properties, and I can now change that out to a different typeface that I would want. Okay. So we're going to go with this crazy abstract thing. When I go back to my pages, you'll see it's got this crazy number 2, crazy 4, 5, 6, 7, because they're all A's. Okay, if I make it a B master, that page number will go away because the color shift is done and I did not add a page number to the master page. Does that make sense? Questions on that? So master pages are elements you want to put on multiple pages. Now, there is an override. Okay, so let's say we're working and we want to be able to make a change. Go back up here to this. Oh, we go back up to a page. So we're working this page here, and I decide I don't want the yellow at the bottom. It's too much. I want to make that red. So instead of changing the whole master on page 2, I can right click on it and it will allow me to override all master page items. Okay, so if I do that, it will let me select the items on the page, all of them, and make a change. Okay, so I can make a change here, make a change to the typeface here, the page numbering, or this color. And it only makes a change on the page that I'm working on. Okay, it doesn't do it on anything else. Now, if I want to change just one element, like I say, I just want to change this yellow to something else. If I hold down Command and Shift and click, it will let me activate that one element. It doesn't let me change the number. In this case, I can't change the top, no matter what I click. Well, it's still in the preview mode. It's still thinking I'm in that apply mode, override mode. But what it will do is let me select that particular element with it. So down here, it's not letting me select that number. That's okay. And then I can make that change to be what I want it to be. Okay, so I'm overriding one element in the master page. So it's Option and Command and Shift will let me override one element on the master page. Why would we do that? Let's say we have page numbering on all of them. I'm going to make this typeface something a little bit clearer, easier to read than that crazy abstraction that we had. Okay, so we have Helvetica, and we're going to make it a little bit bigger there. So let's say we have a photo on a page, and we'll go back to this page, for example. I might want the photo to bleed off the page, meaning I don't want to see that bar. Okay, so in that case, we're going to go here. I'm going to change the color now or take that bar off. So I can just literally hit delete and it took that bar off, and I can now move that picture into play. Okay, and we fix the adjustment here to see if it'll fit. There we go. Stretched a little bit, that's fine. But I have that page numbering down here in the corner. Should be somewhere down here. Oh, the page number is below. Okay, so in this case, I want the page number to come on top of the image. Okay, not below the image. So in this case, I'm going to go to my layers, and we can see where they are. This is the frame for the numbers. I'm going to push that to the top, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to adjust my picture. And now because my frame is my color is black. You can't see that number. So now I'm going to come up here to make it white, or paper as they call it, so you can see it. Okay, so this is where you can make those adjustments, manually overriding some of the master pages where most of your pages are going to want these elements and you don't need to change it, but there will be times when you need to get in there and make specific changes to a page. Does that make sense? So in this case, I wanted the 2 to be seen because it was behind. I want the picture to bleed off the page. And I need to change the color of the font because it was black and I need to make it white. Does that make sense? Other things you might want to do in a master page is you might want to just change the whole color of a page. So I'm back on my master B working it. And I might want a page that's all gray, for example. And I'm going to actually lighten it a little bit. Okay, so I'm trying to make a page that's a little bit lighter. I'll just go crazy screen. Click OK. So now any page that has page B master, it's going to have a green background. Okay, so I can change literally, quote, the color of the paper by literally just kind of drawing in that color that I want. Does that make sense? So again, you're not limited to having just a white piece of paper. If you want something else, you can. And you can even put a photograph into a master if you want to, for some reason, you want to put a photo back there, you could, right? So I'm going to just place a picture, Command D, and go to my desktop. So we have a picture that we could put into that. So now you'll see over here, the preview changed. Every time there's a B page, we've got that picture on it. Okay. So you can do pretty much whatever you want on those master pages, whether it be just a simple element like a bar or a element like a large element like a photograph. And again, if I come back to page 2, if I decide I don't want those changes there, I want to go back to where I was with the red and the yellow bar at the bottom. All I need to redo is drag A over again, and it puts it in. And I'm going to pull that picture back up, and you'll see the bar is back there. Okay, so you can override what you've done by just simply dragging that master back onto that picture. Okay, so there's a lot of adaptability with this. And again, it's totally up to you as to what you want to do. But this is oftentimes, this is how you would create a color page with that. So I'm going to make a new color. I want to show you color real quick. So I'm clicking on this. I did that, and I don't want that, but I want a new color. So I can come down here to what we call the Pantone Colors. And it just loaded those in, and I can come through and select. I can also do the CMYK coded or uncoded. Coded is like a little shine that's on the paper. And it just loaded all those colors in on a Pantone book. Let me see if I have my Pantone book here. No, not that big. Thought I had one. One second, guys. It's back in the box. I don't know where it is. But these are Pantone colors. And these are basically specific colors that we can call out for printing. Okay, so if we know we want to use a certain color red, like Coca-Cola has a color they use all the time. So it's the same red on all the bottles. wherever you get them, no matter where they print them in the world, it's the same red. And they use a Pantone color. And they typically will use a Pantone solid color. Let those load up, and they'll go through that. And we'll just say it's the 032. Okay, so 032C means Pantone 32C coated, okay, solid coated, and it says red. And again, you can pick whatever color that you want to do that. And as you get down, these little names go away. It just becomes numbers. Okay, so it's kind of a way that designers can talk to each other by saying, hey, I want to use Pantone 116C. Okay, and that will be the same no matter what. There's no kind of mixing or anything like that. Okay, so we said we want that. Okay, so here's a Pantone book. It basically looks like one of those books you get from the paint store with the swatches, but each color has that number on it. And with that, you can select your colors. Okay, so as you start to work, you'll get one of these. They're pretty expensive to buy. Okay, so don't worry about it as a student. When you start working professionally, you'll grab one because you need it. Until then, you can kind of go off the charts here. It's pretty close. Again, these are kind of the visual representation. Again, it could be a slight change based upon your monitors and stuff. So,
Danny, I have a question.
Yes.
Did you want us to use Pantone for our project?
I think it's up to you. Now with Pantone right here, it's saying it's a spot color, so it means it's kind of a unique color when it prints. If we go to like these Pantone CMYK, you can make it a process color, which means it's going to be printed CMYK. Does that make sense? So they will do the equivalent to it. I oftentimes just use the CMYK process equivalent just to kind of get colors. But you can mix up your own colors also. Does that make sense? So not as important, but you can just kind of mix up your own colors if you choose to do so, or you can select the Pantone. Like most times we don't print. Well, if we print, we'll do like a CMYK, which is the 4 colors, plus a Pantone or 2, because each Pantone color costs a lot of money. So most printing jobs are just CMYK. I want to say the vast majority. Now, there are times when companies will specify they want to use their Pantone color, which is fine. But the vast majority of printing is just CMYK. If they do something else, they kind of, it's a CMYK plus, 1 or 2 Pantone colors. So if you hear someone that goes, oh, we have an 8-color press, you're going to go, what's an 8-color press? Well, usually it's a CMYK, which is 4. And then they can do 3 Pantones and a coat, an aqueous coat, which counts as a color. It's kind of like a sheen that they put on the papers. It kind of keeps things from fading. Sometimes it adds a nice texture. Or they could do 4 Pantone colors all at one time. So they always have a 4-color press typically, but sometimes they'll have a 6-color or an 8-color. And that just means they can print more extra on top, extra Pantone colors on top. Or the aqueous coat or varnish kind of thing on top. Does that make sense? So for the project, I'm not as concerned whether you use Pantone or not. Feel free. If you do, you can. Otherwise, you can kind of just mix up your own colors if you want. And you can kind of just mix those in here with those. If you know the web color, that's what this number is at the bottom. So if you know the web equivalent color, if you see this explanation point, that means it's a color that's going to get really weird printing. Okay. The gamut, meaning it's going to like not print well. Okay. It won't be able to print that vibrant. Okay. Or it's going to take some extra special printing. Extra special printing would be stuff like fluorescent colors and those kind of things. Or metallics. And if you look in here, we do have the metallics, right? We have the Pantone metallics. So if you want stuff like copper, these are what these would be. These are like kind of representing the colors of copper. And they actually print it with a metallic ink. So it's got little specks of shine into it. So these are kind of metallic colors that you can do. They look flat here, but when they print, when a printer would do it, they know to make it metallic because it's been called out as a metallic. Okay. We don't do it a lot because it costs extra money, but you can do the metallics, and they also have a neon in here. So there's pastels, and let's get down to the neons. So we have the neon colors in here. Okay, so kind of getting into the yellows and the greens, the neon blue. And again, you can print always kind of close, but they use extra special inks to get the true neon colors if you want those. So you can call out all of that. These others are other color systems that I don't know, I've never really used. The Toyo and the XKF. Again, depends on the printer or maybe the country that's using those. So I'm typically using these, RGB CMYKs and then the Pantone colors. Okay. To do that. Okay. So I want this page to be this kind of light, we'll call it light orange kind of color. So if I put that on my master, which I did, let me see, did it make the change? Yeah. So all the B masters now have that color in the background. Okay, so now I can put anything I want on top and it will be there. Okay, so I'm just going to put a text box in. And one thing, I don't know if I told you guys, but under type, there's this thing called fill with placeholder text. And it just kind of puts in dummy text. So it doesn't mean anything. I'm going to zoom into it so you can see it. And I'm going to change this typeface to something else. So it's just text that's dropped in. If you look at it, it doesn't mean anything. It's totally like, weird. It's like, what the heck is it saying? It just kind of puts it in. It doesn't do any kind of paragraphing. You can see there's kind of up here and there should be an indentation there. So you can go back in and put those in. It's just kind of a quick way as designers that we can kind of start to lay out, do our layouts before we get the text, the proper text that we're going to use. Okay, so you can insert placeholder text. Sometimes you hear it called dummy text. It's really up to you. It's just kind of gibberish. There's nothing there. Okay, if you can read that, you're better than I am. Okay, questions on that? Questions on the master pages? Kind of
I wish I knew about those.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, it's not something I do all the time. If I'm doing, like in this case, even this, there's, 9 pages, I would probably set up masters. But if it's just one page, typically not. And again, you don't need to have the master on there. So like this page here, this front page, page 1, has no master applied to it. As we scroll over, it says none. Okay, this one says A, this one says B.
So
So
it would be accurate to say that the master pages are like templates for the other pages, or the pages that you want to have sort of set up that way.
yes and no.
Okay.
The no is templates, typically you kind of add stuff in. So a template would be like, has text box and you just kind of put in your own text.
Okay.
Does that make sense? To me, that's how I think of templates, right? It's like, this is a template. I can change this to whatever text I want. But when we have the masters, think of them as elements that we want to put on multiple pages in the same place.
I see. So
Okay. And the big
to
things are
achieve
page
consistency.
numbers. In this case, like a color bar, or like case there. Looking at my magazine that I have references. So this magazine doesn't. This is one from the aquarium. It doesn't have anything at the top, But at the bottom, it's really small. Let's see if we can zoom in and see it. Where's my camera? Down here, there's a page number. It says Spring 2021, Pacific Currents, and it's got a page 2. Can you guys see that there? On that. So again, that's on a master page, so it's on every page. Okay. They may have changed it out on a color, but no, actually not. So even here, it's in black. You can like barely read it. Okay, just kind of. So I guess, you know, it depends, but you don't have to put it on every page. Okay. Here, they did it in white and you can still barely read it. Okay, they probably should have gone with a thicker font. It's written down at the page number. It's that, in fact, it's pretty much unreadable. So, you know, would I have done it better? Yeah, I've done it differently. You know, and again, those are things you kind of look for. Otherwise, it's you know, 90% of the time, it's there in the corner, and likewise, it's on the other side too. Okay, so it says Spring 2021 Pacific Currents 22. So it's the same information on both. So they're putting the name of the magazine and the date and then the page number on every page. With there are exceptions because of some kind of imagery that they wanted to do with this. There's a big clownfish in the center, kind of a little centerfold. Okay, it's got the fish, and they didn't put the page numbers on that. Okay, so it's kind of elements you want to put on many pages, and you want them to all be the same. Because if you had to line it up every time, I guess you could do it, but you would never, you'd drive yourself crazy trying to do it.
Yeah,
And,
I mean,
and I'm
that's,
sure you could
I had to line it
mathematically
up, yeah.
figure it out. It's just this. So putting them on master pages does it. And again, you can override the master. So if for some reason you don't want, you know, the page number on there, you can change that out. You can turn that off or turn that on, again, based upon what's going on with potentially pictures or images in the background. Okay.
Yeah, I wish I I wish I researched this a little bit before I did my yeah, it's technically a portfolio, but the 30-day, yeah. I wish I knew that so that I didn't have to, because there are a lot of elements I was repeating throughout. So this would have been, would have made it easier.
Yeah, and again, I think, remember, you can do many pages, many masters, right? There's an A, there's a B, you could have a C, a D. Again, it depends on how you're doing your particular layouts. So that's kind of the planning stage. It's kind of figuring some of that out. And you might know, I want, you know, 2 or 3 masters based upon some of the design elements you've done. And again, you're not limited. You can have, as far as I know, you can have as many masters as you want. And you can rename them too. So if it starts to get confusing, like what's A and what's B, I can double click on it and let me see. I think I can rename those. Let me see. No, maybe I can't.
Would it be the master options for, so if you right click it and then master options for B master?
Okay. Yeah, and what I also did here was I added a little color. So the page attributes, this color label. So it kind of makes it quicker to see. Sometimes it's hard to see the B's or the A's, and you can give them certain colors. You can see that just kind of added a color underneath. That's kind of nice. That sometimes is a nice way to look at that. And then this other, let me see what this page, rotate view. Oh, that changes the whole page. Look at that. You can make flip the whole page if you wanted to. I don't know why you would want to do that, but you could.
See it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Master options for B master right there, right below new master. Maybe that's where it is. There it is.
Where it is, master B. Yeah, so you could change it. So just gonna put tan. We'll leave the B just so we know. Okay, so it's B. But if I do that, let me just see. I guess you have to have something here. Because that's what it wants to show. It can't do a title down here on the A's and B's, but you could call it whatever you want. So when it's say 1A, now they're called 1A, master 1A. Okay, so if you don't want A's, B's, C's, you can do that. So cool.
Nice. I'll make it a lot more convenient.
Yeah, and if you find out you're not using a master, you can delete it. If it was being used, it's going to go, what do you want to replace it with? So if I delete B, I get that warning. It's going to be mastered B is on 3 pages, delete anyway, yes. And it goes back to none. Okay, so all those that were B went back to a no master. All right.
Cool.
All right. All right. Other questions, guys? All right, so one last thing I want to kind of do today, I want to kind of go through some type. We talked about orphans and widows, and like, what the heck are these kind of things? So I want to show you what those are, and we'll go through it more, and we'll go through how to correct them. Okay, but I want you to see what they are first. So let me find. I kept the. Let me come down here. I'm going to just import them. It'll be easier finding them. Give me 1 second. Slow down, computer. Steps. Almost there. And I will put these up on the website also, so you can have reference to those. Okay, so let me show you what those are. So in typography, these are kind of things we want to look for as we start our layouts. And with dummy text, it's kind of hard to do because the placeholder text is just kind of there. But as we get to real words and stuff, we're going to see how those are. So if we say a widow, it's basically a one line just kind of hanging out like this. Does that make sense? So if you have a single line on top of a page or something like that, that's called a widow. If it's at the bottom, we call it an orphan. It's also, in this case, like just a couple letters or one word hanging at the end of a paragraph. This may be okay. Again, depends on what we're doing and what the words are, but you're just trying to watch. You don't want to have too many of these things just kind of hanging there. So widows are hangers at the top. Orphans are the ones at the bottom. Yeah, it's just like just design terminology, typography. Rivers are these weird kind of openings in the words, just how we have it justified or unjustified. They make these kind of weird breaks. So we always are kind of looking for those to kind of fix them, because if we have too much, it gets weird and kind of distracting for the eye. So we're always trying to kind of minimize these kind of this term of rivers. So if I say rivers and point to something, this is kind of what I'm talking about. And then the rag is the edge. Okay, we can see how this is going in and out. We don't want to go in and out too much. We're going to have some, But when we get these big, deep kind of impressions or depressions, it kind of like just breaks up the eye. So if we go back to here, no, what happened to my, oh, I'm on the masters here. Let me go to my page. So in here, I'm just glancing at this document that we were making and playing up. I know there's going to be some problems here. Not too many rivers. So rivers would be like big gaps going between, and you'd literally see them. They look kind of weird. Like here, this is a bad river. See how these got these couple letters, and there's like this big gap. So those are things we're going to want to fix, and I'll go through how to fix those with you guys. And over here, we're justified, so we don't have any bad rag. I'm going to undo that. Let me just go back to. Not too bad. We get a little bit of an insight here. And I think like this ER could probably get pulled back over. So the rag is not too bad in this format when it's unjustified. And we don't have any, there's a couple little rivers down here where we've got this kind of big gap down at the bottom of the page, but it's not too bad. So again, it's not something that's going to happen all the time, but it's something you kind of want to look for. And like the word the union, that's probably feels okay. But if it was just union down here, we would call that an orphan and probably want to fix that. We want to try to get that to the next line or bring another word or two down onto that line just to kind of break it up so it's not just kind of hanging out by itself. Does that make sense? So those are just kind of things we'll look for as we start to go and develop out our projects. And I just want you to kind of know what those terms are as we use them. So I'll put these up online just so you can see what those are and reference those as needed. I'll put those on the website. Okay. All right. Questions, other questions?
How many pages do you want? I might have missed.
Oh, we're going to do, I'm finalizing it now. I think we're going to do like, I don't know, maybe 2 articles. I'm going to give you a page number. I'm going to say it's, I'm going to tell you, we'll tell you Tuesday. I'm going to do a whole work up a sheet. I'll do kind of like a little template that's kind of like, here's your pages laid out so you can kind of see it. It'll be blank, but it'll say page 1, page 2, or story 1, story 2, cover. So I'll build that up as a file so you can do that. It's going to be probably about 8 pages or so. It's nothing terribly long. I'm not going to give you like this 20-page book or anything nuts. But what I want you to do now is start to select what you want to do on. So magazines all kind of have a topic, right? I mean, there's not a magazine that talks about everything that I know of. Most of them have a specific topic. So I want you to kind of think about what would you want to do as a topic for your magazine. You know, here's one that, again, it came in the mail, is Currents, and that's about the aquarium of the Pacific. Okay. But you could do, you know, there's magazines on fashion, you know, National Geographic, again, it's more science-based. It could be on travel. It could be on nature, Happy Earth Day. You know, really kind of whatever you want. So I want you to kind of think about over the weekend is what would I want my magazine to be about? But also think about that, can I get the pictures and the images or create them for my magazine? Okay, so I know, don't do, I don't know, let's say you're going to do a magazine on fish, because I got the aquarium here. And you're like, I don't know where to find any fish pictures, or every time I look up fish pictures on Google, they come out really bad. They're not good photos to work with. So it may be something where you're going to, you know, find something else as a subject. Okay, so, you know, you look at the images and all the images turn out to be bad or just wonky or something like that. So see if there's images and stuff to do whatever you want. And then you're going to have to find articles to go with your stuff. Does that make sense? So we're going to want to use real words that kind of are related to the story that you're going to be telling. So if you're going to do a story on, coral reefs, you're going to want to find images for fish or coral reefs, and then you're going to want to find stories or articles on coral reefs that you can just kind of copy text from. Again, we're not necessarily copying the whole article because some of them are very large. So we found coral reef pictures, we're cool. Now we're going over here and we're going to see if we can find some article. What are coral reefs? So here's an article from Science Magazine. And I can literally now drag that text, grab it, and copy it and paste that into my story over here. Okay, so I'm just going to just drop the text in. All right, and now I have the text here related to and about coral reefs. Okay, and then I'll go through and format and put it together. But we just want things to kind of match up. So we don't want to have words about, I don't know, at some movie star, and then there's pictures of fish. Okay, so we want to kind of keep things going together. So your magazine is, quote, on fish. You're going to have fish pictures and stories about fish. And again, I don't want you writing the articles. I want you to just be able to find them. So, kind of contemplate what you would want to do to do your story on, your stories, I should say. All right. And then you'll want to find pictures that you can work with. And we'll go over how to make the cover. And again, we'll get back into, resolution. We're going to open up Photoshop to do that. Or we'll open up Illustrator, and we're going to just kind of go through it step by step to kind of build your magazine up. Okay, so it'll be kind of a step by step. So if you start to gather stuff, put them in a folder, you'll have those to work with. And like I said, I'm going to kind of walk you through putting a magazine together over a couple classes, just so you can kind of see it, and then you can kind of build upon it on your own. Okay, questions about that? So it's really picking your subject matter for your magazine. Does that make sense? Pretty simple. Keep working with InDesign and kind of figuring out, okay, what was that? Okay, let me go back through that again. The videos are up to date on the website, with the exception of today, of course. But again, just getting in there and just go, you got it. All right, I got some text. Let me change my typeface, and start to go through and get used to what works and what fonts you might want to use. And again, it gives you previews. So again, it's just kind of getting used to how is it working. And I think you're going to tend to find there's certain typefaces you like a lot. And that's okay. It's okay to have one, we'll call them the go-tos, where you're looking for typefaces and that will work or won't work in a particular situation. I think we all tend to gravitate to certain text or certain fonts at some point. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can we do an article about characters in like a show?
Yeah. Like based on anime or a movie,
Yeah.
or that totally. And there are, I don't know, but I'm going to guess there's like a Star Wars magazine, or there's Harry Potter magazines. So yeah, there's no reason you can't. It doesn't need to be a real magazine. Does that make sense? You can make up this magazine on whatever subject you want, and we'll go through magazine covers and the design and all of that kind of thing as we go through the next few weeks. But I want to get everybody up to speed on InDesign. And really, we've covered all the major aspects of InDesign at this point. There's always more, there's always nuances. It does things like tables and all that kind of, but we're not going to get into that now because you just don't need it. Okay, you will at some point from time to time, but you just don't need it now. So I just wanted everybody up to speed on how to do and work with InDesign, and hopefully these last few weeks of lectures have kind of got you up to speed as to what we're doing here. All right. Other questions? Anything else?
Are you going to be posting an assignment on Canvas
will.
stating the criteria we need?
Yes, I will. What
Okay.
I said is I'm going to make up a kind of a dummy file that will guide you along. And I will put that on Canvas. I'll spell it out, but I'll put up the downloadable file on our website. Okay, so you'll basically be able to download something that's like this. It'll be all blank or with a couple words in there. There'll be like 6 or 8 pages, and it'll be kind of set up like this with a cover and a back cover. And I'll label things like cover, you know, story 1, story 2, whatever. So you can kind of start to work them out. Okay. And I'll go through it. Don't worry. That'll all be there by Tuesday also. Okay. Other questions? Anything else? All right, so again, pretty simple homework. Pick your subject matter for your final magazine. Start to get pictures, words, articles. You can all put that together in one folder so you have that. So when you sit down and have time to work, you can get right to work. You're not having to spend hours looking, oh, I just saw a picture, where was that again? When you see it, you find it, save it. And we'll go through some of that of image quality again on Tuesday as we start to build this magazine out. Okay, but picking your subject, that's going to be the first thing. And pick something you like. Okay, something you're going to want to get into, something that's going to make you happy. Okay, and that's why I let you pick, because otherwise, if I assigned it, you'll be like, oh, that sucks, I don't even like that, and will not put the energy into it. So I want you to pick something you're into, so you'll put the energy into it, and the time to make something really kind of cool. All right.
Sounds good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. If there's no questions, we're good for today. Have a good weekend. A couple of you guys are getting your shots. If you haven't signed up for your shots, guys, everybody can get them at this point. So find a location, get it. You're gonna be happier. Trust me. Just being able to know that you've got some of that protection going on. Okay. I don't
All
want
right.
anybody
Thank
getting
you very
sick.
much.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend.
Thank you for your
All
help
right,
today,
you too.
Professor. Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
too, Professor.
Oh, wait, one more thing.
Yes.
So you said about the magazine, right?
Yes.
You said we had to make our own and find our own, sentences and paragraphs
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
an article.
Yeah, we can look that stuff up online. So let's say you're going to do, I don't know, you're going to make your magazine based on, I don't know, snack foods. And trust me, there's a snack food magazine. You can literally just kind of go online, find articles on snack foods, and just copy. We're going to copy and paste the text.
Okay, but
Okay.
what if
Yeah.
I want to type something? Like I
Oh, you
want
could.
to,
Yeah, no, if you want to, that's fine. I'm not going to stop you. But
all right.
this is not a writing class. But if you've got stuff or you've written stuff, by all means, you can do that.
All right then.
That's totally fine.
Have a good day.
All right, thanks.